Kevin told Dalton and Penny that they needed to get out of the room before Professor Colt's pill bowl exploded.
"Are you kidding me?"
Dalton asked incredulously. It wasn't that Dalton didn't trust Kevin, but Professor Colt was a trained faculty member after all. There's no way she'd make a mistake like that. "You can stay here if you don't mind getting burned to a crisp," Kevin said calmly.
"No way. I'm out of here,"
Dalton said as he walked briskly towards the door. While she was talking, Professor Colt was moving the bowl over the Bunsen burner. She was adjusting the flame to the proper height for the preparation of a healing pill. "Professor, please wait a moment," Kevin interrupted her as he strode towards the table. "Do you have any questions, Kevin?" Professor Colt asked him. The other students in the class all looked at Kevin. They were wondering what stunt he was going to pull this time. "Professor Colt, you're making a big mistake with this pill," Kevin said very nonchalantly. "If you turn off the flame now, there shouldn't be too much damage." This drew an immediate reaction from his classmates, who all broke into laughter. They couldn't believe that he had the nerve to correct the professor while she was putting on a demonstration. With all her experience, there was no way she could be doing anything wrong. Who was he to interrupt her like this? Professor Colt was obviously irritated by Kevin's comment, and she scolded him. "Didn't you hear what I just said, Kevin? The most important thing in preparing a medicinal pill is the flame. If you put out the flame now, the pill will be ruined." She was starting to get angry at Kevin. It was bad enough that he hadn't listened to her lecture, but how could he question her abilities? She was a member of the union and was actually their chief apothecary. While she hadn't made every single possible pill, she still had enormous experience and had made countless healing pills in her career. She'd never had a single problem. "Professor Colt, I'm not questioning your skill. It's just that you didn't use any of the grass in that container as you were measuring your ingredients," Kevin pointed out innocently. He recognized the grass in the container as one of the basic components of any medicinal pill. It was something that you could never leave out because it helped the blending of the other ingredients. The most important thing that it did was to prevent the temperature from increasing too rapidly and causing an explosion. The other students thought that Kevin was just trying to draw attention to himself and confuse everyone. They figured he'd probably never seen anyone make herbal meds in his entire life. Mike couldn't resist putting his 2 cents in.
"Stop making a scene, Kevin. If you don't want to learn anything, just leave. But don't mess it up for the rest of us."
"The class leader's right," Lionel added. Then he let Kevin have it. "Do you know how important this is? If you don't appreciate what Professor Colt is showing us, then just go home." Kevin's classmates started glaring at him in disgust. Dalton started clenching his fists. He knew that Kevin wasn't someone who did things just to get attention. These guys were really ticking him off. Kevin sighed lightly. All he was doing was warning Professor Colt because he cared about what might happen. Why did they all think he was causing trouble? 2 minutes had already passed, and Kevin could see that the bowl was getting too hot. You could feel it from several feet away. "This isn't good. Everyone get down," Kevin yelled. He was done trying to explain and grabbed Professor Colt, pulling her to the floor as he protected her with his body. "What are you doing?" she exclaimed. Kevin's classmates still didn't understand how much danger they were in and started to criticize him. "Let go of Professor Colt," one of them yelled. Mike started rolling up his sleeves to take a swing at Kevin as he shouted,
"Get away from Professor Colt right now. If you don't, I'll report you to the administration and you'll be expelled."
He was about to say something else, but they were all interrupted by a huge explosion from the bowl that Professor Colt had been heating. It was like a volcanic eruption throwing a wave of hot air across the room. Shards of the bowl were flung out as the bowl shattered from the blast. The shock wave knocked some of the students across the room and into the wall. Some of them were cut by fragments of the bowl that flew all over the room. And the mixture had gotten so hot that the herbs were instantly vaporized. Professor Colt was absolutely stunned. She shook her head in disbelief. Had he actually been right? As the rest of the students lay on the ground in a daze, they looked over at Kevin with shocked expressions. It couldn't have been a coincidence. Kevin had been telling the truth after all. But Kevin didn't have time to worry about what his classmates were thinking. He was too concerned about the intense pain he was feeling in his back. Since he'd been closest to the table, he'd also borne the brunt of the heat and debris from the explosion. His clothes were shredded and burned, and he had serious burns on his back. But he'd managed to protect Professor Colt, so she didn't suffer any injuries. Professor Colt came back to her senses and felt Kevin's body lying on top of her. This was definitely an embarrassing position to be in. "Kevin, would you please get off of me?" Professor Colt said very quietly. "Okay, Professor Colt," he replied as he stood up awkwardly. Professor Colt glanced around the pill room and saw the destruction. "Send the injured students to the infirmary. Everyone else should go back home to rest. Today's lesson is over," she announced.
"Are you okay, Kevin?"
Dalton asked as he ran over to his friend. "Don't worry, I'm not dead yet," Kevin replied. It stung a little, but it wasn't as bad as it looked.
"Let me get you to a hospital to be sure,"
Dalton insisted. He really hadn't expected Kevin to hit the nail on the head like that. He said the bowl would explode in less than 5 minutes, and he was absolutely right. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm okay. You should go home and get some rest." Kevin stretched his shoulders a few times.
"Okay, sounds like a good idea. Call me if you need anything,"
Dalton offered without hesitating. The pill room was still uncomfortably hot, so Kevin decided to head home and change his clothes. Plus, his shirt was pretty tattered from the explosion. On the way out, Professor Colt stopped him. "How did you see the problem with the pill?" she asked him earnestly. "It's very simple, Professor Colt. I saw that you hadn't added the correct ingredients," Kevin explained. But he didn't want her to feel embarrassed, so he added, "It's probably because you were talking to the class while you were working on the pills." "Tell me honestly, do you know how to concoct herbal medicine?" she asked as she looked directly into Kevin's eyes. There weren't many apothecaries left in the world, and the ones who remained guarded their secrets very strictly. So Professor Colt wouldn't believe Kevin if he said that he didn't know anything about making herbal pills, and she certainly wouldn't believe that he just made a lucky guess. "You're right, Professor, but I only know how to make a few kind of pills," Kevin replied modestly. In fact, there probably wasn't a single medicinal pill that he didn't know how to refine. He just needed a little more practice to get better at it. For some reason, Professor Colt was actually very relieved to hear Kevin's explanation. "It's really a good thing to know how to concoct a few kinds of pills. There's currently a great need for more apothecaries. I was lucky enough to join the union and get many years of training from them, but I only know how to produce 10 types of pills." Then Professor Colt sighed. "It's too bad that there are too few apothecaries around these days. The formulas are so hard to find and reproduce that some pills are worth a fortune. For something like the power pill or the augmentation pill, well, they're like miracle drugs." Kevin nearly laughed out loud when he heard her say that. He could easily make the herbal meds that Professor Colt found so unattainable. However, he still had some doubts. The Night King had told him that apothecaries used to have a lot of respect, but there was some kind of incident that had changed everything. "Professor Colt, can you tell me what exactly happened to all the apothecaries?" Kevin inquired. "Oh, that was a long time ago," she answered as she got a nostalgic look in her eyes. "I suppose I can tell you. My mentor always said that the herbal meds could lead to far greater development than anyone had ever imagined. But it's a difficult undertaking," she continued, "and we're only now finding out the similarity between herbal medications and the techniques that are being developed by modern science. There was an apothecary many years ago who actually stumbled on a way to move beyond what his colleagues were doing. The results of his methods were decades ahead of anyone else," she explained. "But should anyone be allowed to become that powerful?" Kevin asked her. The professor nodded in agreement. "You're right, Kevin. His plans were eventually exposed, and he drew a lot of attention from people who were afraid of how powerful he might become. It wasn't easy for them to defeat him, but when they did, they took out many more apothecaries who might also pose a threat. It had devastating effects on the field. Whoever was left went into hiding and destroyed any evidence of their formulas. Once everyone realized just how much had been lost, it was too late to recover," she explained sadly. "A lot of people are interested in developing themselves, but they don't appreciate the art and science involved. Even students at the School for the Healing Arts are just interested in it because it's something new. There isn't anyone who's very committed to it." The more Professor Colt spoke, the more regret Kevin could see in her eyes. Kevin nodded slightly because he understood the problem. From what he'd read in the sources he'd found, an herbal pill could be worth a fortune, but making one took both money and energy. People just didn't seem interested in making the effort to become an apothecary. If this continued, they'd eventually disappear. Suddenly, Professor Colt seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and she asked, "Kevin, I see that you have some talent. Do you want to participate in the apothecary contest?" "An apothecary contest?" Kevin repeated in amazement. "Yes. Because it's a very rare discipline, about 50 years ago it was decided to look for a way to try to build more interest. All of the major groups and organizations are involved in training their own apothecaries," she explained. "The top 3 finalists receive interesting awards. First place earns admission to the Herbalist Society, second place earns an advanced technique, and the third place winner only gets $750,000. Professor Colt told Kevin eagerly. "The Herbalist Society?" Kevin asked in surprise. He'd never heard of them before. "The Herbalist Society is an institution composed entirely of apothecaries. They serve the top levels of business and government. The leading organizations send their most outstanding students to study with them every year. It's an extraordinary honor. Anyone who studies with them is highly sought after when they complete their training," she told him excitedly. "Because of that, many people in the Herbalist Society have become wealthy and famous. Their careers really take off," Professor Colt gushed. "Every participant in the contest can bring along an assistant. It just so happens that I've been looking for a candidate for the past few days. If you want to participate, come along with me. Even if you don't win, you can learn a lot." "All right, Professor Colt. I'll go with you," Kevin agreed without thinking twice. What happened over the past few years had broadened Kevin's horizons. He used to think that as long as he had money, he'd be fine. But now that he'd seen the potential of herbal medicine and training, he wanted something more. Although Chicago was a pretty big city, the country was a whole lot bigger. If he wanted to have a future, he had to step onto a bigger stage. Plus, he needed to make good use of the books he'd been reading. Because of the accident in Professor Colt's class, Kevin's dinner with Penny had to be put off again. After saying goodbye to Professor Colt, Kevin headed home and went straight to the study to get ready for the apothecary contest. The first thing that he did was to make an herbal med to help Lily recover from her injuries. She recovered very quickly and was discharged from Downtown General to the amazement of the hospital staff. On the following weekend, Kevin was still half asleep when he smelled a delicate fragrance. Lily kissed his forehead and said, "Hubby, the sun is already up and you should be too." "Can't I sleep for 10 more minutes?" Kevin drawled as he struggled to open his eyes. "No, hurry up and get out of bed. If Mom finds out that you're still lazing around, she'll definitely scold you again," Lily said softly while leaning her head on Kevin's chest. After coming so close to death, Lily understood how important life was and wanted to savor every second with Kevin. Okay, if you say so," Kevin agreed as he got out of bed and got dressed. "It's rare that you don't have to go to work or school on such a nice day. Let's go out for a walk, okay?" Lily asked softly. "Yeah, let's do that. A walk would be nice," Kevin replied as he looked out the window at the view. Lily smiled as she walked up behind Kevin and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Kevin, when I was in the hospital and that man Spencer was so polite to you, did he actually call you the enforcer?" Kevin sighed and quietly said, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "I'll believe anything you say," Lily answered softly as she hugged him even more tightly. Kevin was finally ready to tell her everything. Lily and Kevin decided to take a walk downtown and enjoy a quiet day off. She just asked him why Spencer had called him the enforcer, and Kevin was about to tell his wife everything that he'd been keeping from her. But before he could begin to divulge all his secrets to her, his phone suddenly rang.
"Hey, Kevin, what are you doing right now?"
He could hear Marshall's rough voice at the other end of the line. "I'm home. What's wrong?" Kevin asked curiously. Ever since he came back from his meeting with the Alliance, Kevin had let Marshall take over his duties as Alliance manager. They hadn't been in touch with each other in a long time, so Kevin knew that something serious must be going on.
"It's not a big deal. I just want to let you know that the executive director's birthday is in 2 days. Everyone needs to drop what they're doing and head back to headquarters for the celebration. Don't forget that you're our messenger now," Marshall reminded him.
"I understand, but we've got 2 days, don't we? Why are you panicking?" Kevin replied sharply.
"No panic. Just keeping you in the loop. Gotta run," Marshall said as he hung up.
After putting his phone away, Kevin started to have some doubts. He thought that since this was an important gathering, his mentor, the Night King, might be there too. Kevin had a ton of questions for him. On top of that, he had a vague feeling that this would be a crucial meeting. What worried him was that even though Chicago wasn't the largest city in the country, both the Myriads and the Alliance were interested in it. And now the School for the Healing Arts had decided to open a campus too. The city was crawling with powerful people who were interested in herbal meds and martial training. It had Kevin curious. While Kevin was contemplating these things, Lily asked him, "Who was that on the phone, honey?" "Just a friend," Kevin laughed casually. 2 hours later, Lily and Kevin were taking a stroll hand in hand. Lily was eating a soft pretzel they'd gotten from a street vendor. She was feeling like a kid again as she explained to Kevin that she used to have the same treat when she was a kid. "Kevin, why don't we go into that jewelry store over there?" Lily asked sweetly. "Are you sure, honey? We've been walking for over an hour." Kevin felt that if the school had a shopping contest, Lily would win first place, hands down. "Come on, let's go in. I'm in the mood to get some new jewelry," she said coyly. Lily was so excited that she started tugging on Kevin's arm. He finally gave in and the two of them headed into the store. As soon as they walked in, Lily spotted a diamond ring that she wanted. The sales associate noticed that Lily was interested in the ring and walked over to them with a big smile. "This ring is a new arrival and there's nothing like it in all of Chicago. It's called the Starry Sky Ring." "That's a good name for it," Kevin commented as he admired the brilliant stone. They then heard a delicate voice nearby saying, "Wow, what a beautiful ring. Hubby, can you buy it for me?" Kevin and Lily looked over and saw a couple walking towards them. The man looked like a successful businessman and he carried himself well. The woman was very pretty, but maybe not quite as pretty as Lily.
"Lily, what a coincidence to bump into you here," the man said cheerfully.
What Kevin didn't know was that the man's name was Clancy Redmond, and the woman's name was Danica. They were both Lily's classmates from college. Clancy had chased after Lily back in the day, but he obviously ended up with someone else. "What a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you guys here," Lily exclaimed as she smiled awkwardly. "And I never expected to cross paths with you here." Danica stared at Lily with an unfriendly gaze. Even though any relationship between Lily and Clancy was long over, Danica was still afraid that they'd rekindle their romance.
"What did you say, Danica?" Clancy pouted.
"Nothing at all. Don't tell me you still have feelings for her," his wife replied in an odd tone of voice. Then she looked disapprovingly at Kevin and remarked, "Oh my, Lily. It's been so long since I last saw you. Have things really gotten that bad? Back in school, all the richest guys were after you. How did you end up with this loser?" Lily was obviously irritated at her comment, and Kevin furrowed his brow. This was far from being a friendly reunion. Danica was being downright hostile. "Don't worry about me, Danica. I'm doing just fine," Lily replied coldly. "That's not what I heard. Everyone in town knows your husband's been freeloading off your family for 3 years. He even went to prison for assault and battery," Danica declared loudly enough so everyone in the store could hear it. They all turned around and stared at Kevin.
"Is that true, Lily?" You know, if you're having problems, your husband can join our company. I'll make the arrangement so he can start bringing in a decent salary," Clancy offered with a smile. It sounded like a nice offer, but Lily could tell he had an ulterior motive. He was obviously still interested in her. Clancy had missed Lily a lot after college, but he never expected to get another chance with her. Now it looked like he might be able to take advantage of Lily's troubles with her husband. "There's no need for that. My husband is doing very well now, thank you," Lily replied as she turned around and held Kevin's hand. "Hubby, let's go home. I'm suddenly feeling a little tired." "Okay, honey," Kevin answered quickly. He didn't want to waste any more time with these two. Then he asked the sales associate, "How much is the ring we were looking at?" "How could a delinquent like you even afford it?" Danica sneered. Then she turned to the associate and asked, "Are you going to wrap this up for me?" "There's something that I may not have made clear," the saleswoman replied hesitantly. "It's from a very exclusive designer, and you may find it a bit on the expensive side." "No matter how much it costs, I'm sure my husband will gladly buy it for me," Danica said confidently. "In that case, the price is $7 million, she told her excitedly. The associate knew that she would get a hefty commission for the sale. When Clancy heard this, he took a deep breath and thought to himself, "That's a little friggin' expensive. It may be easier just to steal one." Even though Clancy had been in business for a few years and had been pretty successful, he had nowhere near that much money to throw around, a few $1,000s at the most. "Why don't we look at something else, sweetie? That's really expensive," Clancy said softly.
But Danica wouldn't give up. "I don't care. I want this ring, and I want it right now," she insisted. Clancy wasn't from a wealthy family like Lily, so he didn't have very deep pockets. For Danica, this was a matter of pride. She wanted to show her old classmate that she was just as well off now. Kevin could see how embarrassed Clancy was and commented, "I don't think the question is whether or not you want the ring. It sounds like your husband may not have enough funds to cover it right now." "My husband is a successful person. Do you think he's just a sponge like you?" Danica snapped back haughtily.
"He's right, honey. We can't afford this ring," Clancy admitted nervously.
"I don't care. I want it, and you'll just have to find a way to get it for me," she practically demanded. The sales associate understood what was going on and told them, "I'm sorry, but we have other customers to attend to." And then she started to walk away. "Hubby, let's go home," Lily repeated. Even though she liked the ring a lot, she knew that $7 million was still a big chunk of change. It might be too much for Kevin to handle. "Don't worry, Lily. Since you like it so much, let's buy it," Kevin said with a warm smile.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.